Sorry I was late to start the pre-stream. My beautiful partner convinced me to go on and take a morning hike. The weather's great over here in Seattle right now. We had weeks and weeks and weeks of intemperate, stormy weather. You know, rainy, cold, unpleasant, windy. But today it's perfect. I mean, it couldn't be better, really. And we went on and we went over to a park we hadn't been before. My beautiful partner got a drink. I didn't, because I didn't want one. And we walked. And we ended up walking a little bit farther than we wanted to, so we had to race back to the car to get here in time to start the stream 10 minutes before, going live. Whew. Meanwhile, a big snowstorm over here in New Jersey. You deserve it. You're a Jerseyite. I might be a little bit phlegmy because, I actually really strained myself running back up. Seattle's awfully hilly. What's up? No, I had to hoof it, I was like, I was dying on the way back up. God. Haircut? No, I was just wearing a hat while I was outside. You normally see me right after a shower. Looks like a comfy shirt. Thank you, it costs more than your house. No, not really. I mean, maybe, if you're homeless, and you live in a cardboard box. It's from Samurai. They make good shirts. I've got 2 of theirs. Unfortunately, the other one doesn't fit me that well. That's what I get for buying it hastily. Seriously, though, as a Jerseyite, do Oregon and Washington have the same climate? More or less, yeah. Though not entirely. Actually, funnily enough, Seattle it sits in a pocket of relatively good weather, by virtue of it being between the Sound and Lake Washington. But for the most part, yeah. Do Samurai shirts run small or large? You have to go by the sizing. If you are buying any Japanese clothing, you need to go by the sizing. Not like L, XL, whatever. You need to look at the size guide. What's the chest measurement? What's the so on and so forth. Excuse me. Oh, hi. What on earth happened to Seattle? I don't know, Mr. Walsh. It just do be like that. Who linked this? Matt Walsh, what do you got to say about my fair town?
How do you want me to describe that guy? Really, is he a victim? Do you think that guy's a victim? This is insane levels of selfishness and entitlement.
I don't know. He's black, so I have a feeling you're gonna tell me what the answer should be.
So speaking of cities that are falling apart, Daily Mail has this headline: Seattle in free fall under hyper-woke mayor as new order allows drug users to avoid prosecution with homeless encampments growing in the city.
Source: the Daily Mail. Funnily enough, this thing ended up being just complete fake news. There was no order. We saw this on stream. Right-wing media, and this was probably leaked from within her own office because there are enemies everywhere, the deep state, but no such order existed. This isn't even a misinterpretation of any existing order. It's just nothing happened. It's just completely made up.
Seattle, article says Seattle has erupted into chaos under its new ultra-woke mayor as a police order allows drug users to avoid prosecution in the city plagued by crime and homelessness. Democratic Socialist Katie Wilson was sworn in as the city's 58th mayor on Friday. The progressive politician who co-founded the
right-wing media outright lying, who can imagine? Well, the real betrayal here isn't that right-wing media lied, which they always do. The real betrayal is that the the rumor that she had implemented this order came out from the city government. Or to put it another way, as soon as this information somehow made its way out there, there was a local, I think the Bremerton police agency was like, come on, Seattle PD, come over to us. We're not woke. A bunch of people responded to it as though it was planned, which makes me think that it was planned. They were waiting for Katie Wilson to go in there so they could leak fake information to kind of fan the flames against her,
Transit Riders Union has, if drug offenders 17,000 is not a massive undercount, which it almost certainly is a massive undercount. That means 2% of the population is living on the street, strung out on heroin and fentanyl, which is an insanely high number, by the way. 2% is a massive undercount population. By the way, Seattle's total population is about 800,000. So if they have, 16 or 17,000 homeless people, that's like 2%.
Homeless people doesn't just mean sleeping out on the street, by the way. Homeless people means people who don't have permanent housing. A lot of places will count you as homeless if you're just like sleeping on the couch of a friend, because your housing status is like not like you're basically relying on the generosity of another person. It's not a fixed home for you. No, there are not 16,000 people on the streets of Seattle on fentanyl.
Of the 0%. And that is possible. You can do that. There are many cities in the world that have 0 homeless people. There are many towns, even in America, that have basically 0 homeless people. So it is possible to achieve, but instead, Seattle is totally.
Can you name one? Could you name one? You mean like a town with like 2,000? Even in a town with 2,000 people, you're probably going to have a bum or two. Like it kind of depends. Like, is the weather so inhospitable that it would just kill them when winter comes around? Or is it like they've moved to a different town where they can get benefits? This total nonsense. There are very, very, very few real communities in America that have no homeless people. Now in Europe, it happens, but they have like social programs. Fuck! I just realized why I don't watch these videos anymore. They're really boring.
Infested, and now it's only going to get worse under this.
Like, look at how bored he is, man. I find the tedium of responding to right-wing dishonesty boring, but I have fun doing it in my own way. For them, it's just like, all right, put it through the mill. What is the Daily Wire giving me today? Okay, we got this to read. Da da da. It's why when they put like the quotes from their own website's article up there, they read every word. They never seem impatient to read through it because they want to get to their own analysis. Like me, when I'm reading something, you can tell I'm bored as fuck just reading an article out loud. I want to get to the part where I'm talking. But for him, he's like, all right, well, we're filling up the video time. Thank God we're sparing me the effort of needing to produce something somewhat original, you know?
New mayor admits that if a thing only harms the person doing it, then it should be legal. Now, again, I don't really accept that. I think you have to explain, like, people take that as self-evident, and I don't see it as self-evident. What only harms that person? Okay, so why should it necessarily be legal to do something if it only harms you?
So
random
boring.
Violent outbursts in Seattle or anywhere else are committed by drug addicts. When somebody is high on fentanyl or heroin or anything, or crack, or any drug, they are a danger to the people around them. You know, when you hear a story about somebody getting pushed onto the train tracks or
dude, look at the pacing of this video. Dude, it's like a slog. I just can't imagine like maybe the average right-winger is actually much stronger than me. Maybe fascism makes you strong, because I do not have the strength to make it through this. But these people just like watch 4, 5, 6, 10 videos these a day. Bro's retired. He's just phoning it in. Okay, legitimately, you know how Matt Walsh is just phoning it in? Because he hasn't sided with Nick Fuentes yet. Literally. He hasn't gone the way of Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and broken with the Daily Wire and done the full like anti-Semitism bit, you know, because he'll absolutely, if he was like active on his game, he for sure would, but he's already got enough money to last him, so whatever. Maybe he will in the future.
Fentanyl or heroin, right? Few examples.
Ooh.
Everybody else. So we pulled together, here's some images from around Seattle, and this Daily Mail article has a few of them.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think
just reading, just going through the article, man.
Need, but just a few examples of what Seattle looks like if you were to make the mistake of walking around the town.
This is the what is it? The Museum of Popular Art. What's it? Fuck. Why am I blanking on its name here? On Mopop. Thank you, Mopop. Yeah, this place is great. I've walked by this place 1,000 times. I've never seen this many tents. Maybe this was like during the height of the pandemic or something. I've never. The funny thing is that this is actually the best place to set up tents, because this parking lot right across the way from Mopop is a fucking pit. No one ever parks there. I don't even know if you can park there. I've never seen anyone park there. It's disgusting. and all the ground is all cracked and no one uses it. So like if you're like that's like the perfect place to set up homeless encampments, you know? That's one block of Seattle, but all of Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi looks like that. Well, the difference is that in Seattle, they're allowed to set up encampments, whereas in a lot of poorer right-wing cities or right-wing communities, they're not allowed to set up encampments. They just, like, maraud over to the... They just sit on the stoops outside the local food mart, or they, like, wander out into the alleys or whatever. The visibility is the issue. Like, in the blue cities... they're more visible because the mayor's like less likely to crack down on them. But like at the end of the day, the predominance of homelessness is it's a pretty like it's pretty all over issue here, you know. In right wing cities, they buy those bus tickets to blue cities. That is true. That is true.
What Seattle looks like if you were to make the mistake of walking around the town, and
I don't know where this is just like a edge of a I don't know where this is. Make the mistake of walking around the town. This could be anywhere.
Oh, that's a good one, right?
That's a good one, right? Is this the bike path that crosses underneath the bridge that leads from downtown to Capitol Hill? I think I know where this is.
Yeah, so this is what it's like to, yeah, okay, you want to, so I don't know where that is in Seattle, but you want to walk down that particular street in Seattle, and that's what you're walking by.
He seems like really, really interested in this topic, man.
So you're telling me this shouldn't be a crime? You're telling me...
Wait, what? This? Wait, making a mess in a parking garage, or this? What? You can really feel the passion? Yeah, man. Like, people are like, would you debate Matt Walsh if you could? I don't know. Is this the energy he would bring to debate? Like, to the debate? Is this like what I would get? Like, he would just show up with some like Polaroids of homeless people, and he'd be like, look at this. Now look at this. Yeah. Like, they're too lazy to even come up with a good sociological argument for why homelessness is bad, because urban decay is bad. You can make like 1,000 really good arguments for how stuff like this is socially deleterious, but they don't even bother to because they're so fucking lazy. They look at this and they're like, yeah, it's bad because it's like ugly. You tell me this shouldn't be illegal? It's like, yeah, it's gross. It's icky. And these aren't even people. They're like animals or something. They're all on drugs. Like, you could arrive at almost identical conclusions if you wanted to, right? With good arguments. And they choose not to because a part of it's because they're lazy. Part of it is because they're stupid. I mean, why use the big brain arguments when you can use the small brain arguments, you know?
Me that no one else is harmed by this, really? When you got thousands of people who are setting up camps in the middle of the city,
millions of people,
and getting high, no one else is harmed by that?
Okay, I just want more like deep cut expose shit on Seattle.
He was one of the homeless guys, and listen to what he says. Listen.
Sorry about all the throat clearing again. I went on a hike right before stream, and by the end of I had to rush back to the car because we spent more time in the woods than we expected to. So by the end of the hike, I was like, so I'm still like recovering a little bit from the. It was a good constitutional in the morning, but holy shit, like I was definitely. We took more of an incline than I thought. I think the final like minutes of the run back to the car was like 300 feet of elevation in 6 minutes or something. Like, it was just a fucking staircase basically built into the woods that I was. So why'd you have to run? Because I was late for stream. I was late. If I didn't. Okay, I wasn't like running, but I was like trying to hoof it back up. I wasn't really taking many breaks, you know.
What's up, my guy?
How you doing?
You live here?
No, I just clean all this stuff up, man.
I don't know where this one is. This isn't in main Seattle, I don't think. Is this somewhere on Rainier? Rainier is kind of a pit. Does anyone know where this one is?
What's happened here, man? Everyone just took over Joanne Fabrics?
Joanne Fabrics. This has got to be in North Seattle or something. This feels like a North Seattle thing. This is Ballard? Okay, yeah, in north of the channel. Okay.
What's the city offering? Any services? Any outreach?
Well, they gave me an apartment, but they said that I have to fix him to be able to stay in the apartment. I said, no way. You know?
All right, so Jerome, you for the record, outreach workers offered you a place to go, an apartment, but you said no because they wanted you to neuter your dog and you ain't doing it.
I'm not doing it.
Why not?
Because I want puppies, you know? I want, at least want puppies.
Yeah, what you're seeing is housing first in action, homeless people being given units, but some are now rejecting the apartments because they don't like the accommodations or the restrictions.
Yo, wait, genuine question. Why would that be a requirement for getting a homeless person a house? You have to neuter your dog? Isn't that kind of weird? Like, I think you should neuter your dog, but isn't that kind of weird as a precondition for living in a house? Why, like, why? I don't really understand how. It's not a lot of like weird. A lot of apartments require it. I have never heard of an apartment requiring proof that your dog is neutered. But admittedly, I've never like owned a dog. I've only owned like cats, probably to prevent puppy mills. I guess so. It just seems kind of weird as like a precondition for living somewhere. Feels like some arbitrary reason they made up, TBH. I mean, the point that this video is trying to get at here, right, is that homeless people will often make, with all due respect to Jerome over here, irrational decisions when it comes to their housing, to which the obvious answer is, no shit, dog. They're fucking homeless. Their brain's probably cooked. What do you mean? Yeah, no, obviously. Housing first initiatives don't work, even though they've been proven to work over and over and over again in more civilized countries than ours, because this one guy cared more about the perceived well-being of his dog than he did about living in an apartment. Yeah, they're homeless. Their brains are soup. You have to, like, it's not an individualist policy. You have to, like, round it out. If you implement housing first initiatives for homeless people and you get half of them off the street, that is a huge win. And then you still have half them on the street. But, and listen, let me look, okay? This is a carrot and a stick thing, okay? In my opinion, you are morally allowed to be a little bit more draconian to homeless people if they absolutely have a place to stay, if they wanted to. Like, in a city where there is no place to live at their income level, which is 0, I think it is barbaric to kick them around or like tear down their encampments or whatever, you know? Because like, what the fuck? They're just, I guess they just die then, right? But if they have an option on the table, like, listen, man, you could go over here and live in like a little, you know, like a little mini house and get some like social welfare housing or whatever. Like, if they have that option available to them, you can then be a little bit more like, okay, dog, you need to get the fuck off Main Street. Like, come on. Where am I supposed to go, man? You know where you're supposed to go. You're aware of where you're supposed to go. You're familiar with the place you're supposed to go. Come on, you know? You're allowed to, you can get away with more, basically, which I think is fine, because sometimes homeless people really are belligerent, you know? And sometimes they do need to be arrested, and they need to be, like, forced into treatment programs and stuff. And sometimes they do need to be in jail, and that sucks, and that's not fair, but it is what it is. And none of that can really, like, you can't really manage that gradient of decisions or judgments unless you have a way out for them, right? How can you judge a homeless person for any of the shit they do when they're that fucked? Like, fucking right-wingers online will be like, how could that young man not have done a school shooting? Stacy rejected him, you know? And then they'll be like, what do you mean homeless people get to just, like, stink up a grocery store just because their life is in tatters and they have nothing and no one and they're gonna die soon, you know? Like, we all understand that there are extenuating circumstances here. Did you follow the story about Tyler Chase from Ned's Declassified? Yeah, fuck. I only like a week ago saw that. Maybe you saw the same video as me. He's so mentally ill he will not accept any housing. Yeah, it's really, really, really sad. That was crazy. What happened? The main kid from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide is brain soup. Homeless. Like really, really, really brain soup. Here, there's like a bunch of YouTube shorts on it.
One former child actor is reaching out on social media hoping to help another.
Sean Wise, who played Goldberg in The Mighty Ducks, is offering help to Tyler Chase, who appeared on Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Chase was recently spotted on a viral social media video where he was
the main kid? Not the main kid? Okay, gotcha. Whatever.
seen living on the streets of Riverside.
I reached out to some friends of mine, and we have a bed for him at a detox, and we have a place for him to go and get...
This is a secondhand thing. I think this is the video.
A former Nickelodeon star has been found homeless on the streets of Los Angeles. Tyler Chase, who played Martin Quirley on Ned's...
Sorry, these are all going to be like super gratuitous, I guess. Not gratuitous, what's the term? Like rubbernecky, I suppose. The basic gist is that like he's really mentally fucked and won't accept help. That's the gist of it, you know. I don't want to watch a bunch of like YouTubers like soy face over sensationalists. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, really sad stuff. Happens to the best of us. Going crazy and homeless? Yeah, on a long enough time scale, sure. If we were all immortal, this is what they don't tell you about the elves, man. You watch LOTR, they're like, yeah, elves are all noble all the time. You live forever, eventually you will have your homeless arc, okay? Probably multiple. It's an underexplored element of the... You know who did that good? I'm sorry, this is like kind of a deep cut. Anyone read Sandman before the whole Neil Gaiman shit? Sandman, the what's his name? The guy who said no to death? The guy who made a bet that he would live forever, and then he did because death was watching and thought it was funny. So he like oscillated between periods of time where he was obscenely wealthy and periods of time where he was like poorer than poor, like thought to be dead. That guy, what was his name? It was like Hob or something, right? Yeah, Hob something. Hob. Whatever, anyway. Hob Gadling, thank you. That sounds right. Hob Gadling.
So the city offered him a free apartment. We've seen this kind of thing so many times. I mean, these videos, there's hundreds of them. It's always the same story. We've played many of them on the show before. You can go to any city in the country and find this kind of thing where...
Any city in the country? Jesus Christ. Don't oversell your case, man. I thought that there were plenty of cities in America that had no homeless people. Any city? You can go find video footage of any city in the country where there's a homeless person saying that they won't accept free government housing because of some arbitrary, personal hang-up.
The city has embarked on some kind of program to get the homeless off the street by offering them free housing. And then, you go interview the homeless people and you say, well, hey, why aren't you living in the free housing that was given to you?
So like what solution are they actually offering? The point for these people isn't to fix problems. It's to castigate the outgroup so they can be used as a permanent like subject of blame for society's problems, right? Like, the point of the Holocaust wasn't actually to get rid of undesirables. It was to direct social energy towards the extermination of undesirables. It sounds like it sounds like a meaningless difference, but it's actually really, really important. A clearer distinction, or like a clearer way of understanding it, is that the point of the current ICE campaign is not to rid America of immigrants or Somalis or whatever the fuck they're talking about, right? The point of the current ICE campaign is to use ICE agents to brutalize the country. They don't actually want to change, like meaningfully change things. At least they don't want to implement the solutions you'd think they'd want to implement. They just want to use the existence of those problems as a convenient excuse for whatever other things they want to do. In the case of homeless people, unlimited brutality towards the poor.
And you get this. You get this kind of answer. Like, well, I didn't want it. It didn't live up to my standards.
Do the black voice. Do the black voice. Come on, Steven Crowder would. Come on. Do it. Do it.
This guy says he turned down free housing because he didn't want to neuter his dog. Because he wants a puppy. He's living on the street in an abandoned Joann Fabrics.
The funny thing is that, like, the right-winger would absolutely think of this as based in Chad if the context and race were different, right? If there was this, like, steely-eyed, square-jawed white guy, like, living the nomad's life out there in Wisconsin or whatever, and they're like, yeah, the government offers me help, but I say no. I don't need a leg up. Just me and my dog here, taking on the world. Like, they would be, yeah, if the context were different, if the aesthetics were different, they would think this is based. There's not really a principle, like, position here.
And the city comes to him and says, we will give you a free house, right? It's got heat, it's got air conditioning, it's got electricity.
It's got air conditioning in Seattle? Well, hold on. Not a lot of places in Seattle have air conditioning. Okay, hold your horses, buddy.
You have a sofa. You can have a bed. I mean, you can lock your door at night. And he says, "Well,
he lives in an abandoned Joanne Fabrics. It's probably like more square footage, right?"
I bring my dog, and they say, "Yeah, you can even bring your dog. You just got to get it neutered, though." Oh, well, I said, well, never mind then. Well, why? What do you mean? Well, I want a puppy. I want a puppy. I mean, and so when I say things like, well, these are bad people get very upset about that, and I get a lot of crap for it. And I will again, because I just said it again. How do you want me to describe that guy? Like, really? Is he a victim? Do you think that guy's a victim? This is like insane selfishness, like insane levels of selfishness and
is that selfishness? I feel like you're trying to shove a round peg into a square hole. I feel selfishness? Couldn't you make the argument in the opposite direction? Like, it would be selfish of him to take up a government housing space that's limited? Like, this doesn't really follow. It's just, yeah, it doesn't really work. You know what's interesting? No, it is retarded. I'm just saying it's not really like selfish. That's just the wrong term. Shouldn't he be supportive of the guy for not taking government handouts? Yeah, no, again, like, it doesn't, none of it really makes sense. The real position, obviously, is that he's scary and black, but whatever. The dog is selfish. The dog is being selfish. The dog was like, hell no, man, I'm not living in there. I want my balls. And the owner was like, all right. Jerome was like, okay. All right, man. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this kind of rhetoric is burning out quickly. This kind of, how do I put this? This kind of like wanton, directionless cruelty. Nick Fuentes did a speech recently about like the importance of Christian kindness, obviously full of shit. We're not engaging with this as though it's sincere. But I think that like what the MAGA movement is maxing out on right now is detrimental to it. And I think that the biggest misstep they made in that direction recently was Renee Good. Like, it is really difficult to sustain a movement that has nothing but hate. Never backs down 100% of the time, maximum aggression, every point of rhetoric, all the time, everything, all of it, you know? Like, you can be really hateful while pretending to be loving, right? Like, you can say, like, you know, Renee Good's death was a tragic suicide. Like, doubling down on calling her a domestic terrorist, investigating her wife via the DOJ, stuff like that. This is a level of wanton cruelty that I think leaves a bad taste in most people's mouths, even bad people. Like, I think that there's a reason why historically really evil regimes still have to frame what they're doing as morally justifiable. And I think this regime is doing a bad job of it. And I think that over time, especially as homelessness becomes more and more and more common, because again, like the housing crisis, in no state in this country is enough being done to address this problem, right? Like, it's going to get worse everywhere. And I think that as this becomes more and more of an issue, you're going to see more paternalistic conservatism and less of this contemptuous libertarian conservatism, fake libertarianism. Like, there's going to be less of this, like, fuck you, anyone can do what they want, you got in our way, you got what you deserve, da-da-da, and more like, you know, you have been led astray by the powers that be. We are guiding you in the correct direction. Does that make sense? Compassionate conservatism? I wouldn't really call it compassionate. I guess it's more like, you ever get the feeling when you see neo-Nazis online that there's a difference between the guy who's like, everyone who disagrees with me is Jewish and or controlled by Jews and I hate them, 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 versus like the Nazi who's like, no. I want to liberate people of all races from the tyrannical, multicultural influence that puts all of us at disadvantage. You know, and they both believe the same fundamental thing, but the rhetoric of the latter person are like, there's much more of a like, no, there's a greater plan at work here, we're trying to fix these problems. Matt Walsh isn't even like trying to pretend to fix these problems, you know? It's just like open contempt. It's an older form of conservatism that died out in the 80s pre-neocon stuff. Japan is a place where conservatives are still paternalistic. Yeah, I think I've heard that. Yeah. It's true. Reagan and Thatcher were pretty much the death of that here in the Anglosphere, weren't they? The idea of conservatism being like this stern, um, like authoritarian, but authoritarian for a common purpose, right? That being fundamentally different from the like we should just let business rape everything to death. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like it has an expiration date. I really do. Benevolent sexism. Well, in my opinion, I think that's the clearest example because the current trend of misogyny in the right wing is insane. Like the incel, like all women should die bullshit is not sustainable as a social movement anywhere on earth. They are, I'm sorry to say, guys, they're half of the world. And they're always going to be more or less half of the world, like thereabouts. You can't really build. It's not like races where you can actually kind of separate them. It's pretty straightforward, you know. The open the contempt that the modern right wing has for women, this like frothing at the mouth hatred. This does not. It can't be sustained. But there is a kind of misogyny that is socially stable. And we had it in forms for thousands of years. And it's like paternalistic, chivalrous sexism, which is the whole like men and women are innately different and they're both equally good, but like we love women, but they have like different roles or whatever. And that was the norm as the mainstream kind of sexism for ages and ages and ages. And recently, like because of the internet and because of like modern populist attitudes towards reactionary sentiment, it's been shifting. And now when you hear about sexism, it's not like, oh, this conservative pastor thinks women should stay at home and have children necessarily. It's more like Andrew Tate saying that women are dogs who don't know how to have like higher thoughts and can't dream or whatever. You get me. It's become more toxic. It's become more toxic and it's become less sustainable. There's less of a future for it, you know? There's like a maximal saturation point for open contempt that past which like you don't really have anything more to say. Women are evil. Okay, what's next? Women are double evil. Like it doesn't. You're running out of shit to say. Doesn't make any damn sense. It's not only a shithole; it's an expensive shithole. True. True. Go to come to Seattle. Enjoy your fucking 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment for $3,000. Currently live in Seattle. It's a complete mess. The new mayor's a joke. Can't wait to leave. Got rid of another one. You lost, buddy. You can see in the suggestions that Vosh is working out more and more Lamau. Yeah. I like this strength side guy. He's got some good advice. Where they move Bellevue? Fucking probably, yeah. Bellevue, Renton, Shoreline. Hold on. Seattle has fallen. Excellent. Oh, Vosh, did you take The Hobbit's Isengard? Dude, the Two Towers in theaters was fucking phenomenal. Really enjoyed it. I actually think it's a little bit weaker than Fellowship. I wasn't necessarily expecting that, but I really think that the middle of the Two Towers slows a bit because of I think that the like early to mid Rohan portion is not as interesting as it could be. I think especially in the extended cut, there are too many flashbacks to Eowyn. I think I really think they didn't need 3 like interspersed there. With Arwen, with the Shield Maiden, because her role doesn't like pay out in any way in the Two Towers, I feel like a lot of that time with her feels wasted, even though it pays out in the next movie. You know, Eowyn. Oh, am I mixing up Arwen and Eowyn? You know, the white Shield Maiden. You know who I'm talking about. Helm's Deep is so fucking good. Helm's Deep is spectacular. Helm's Deep, dude. I was watching with my partner, and legitimately, they were reacting to the development of the battle at Helm's Deep as though it was actually happening. Like when the ladders came out, they were like, they were like, it's such a gripping fight, and I really think it's because Helm's Deep feels like a real place, you know. At the end of the day, like, and that's the thing that makes them special, man. There are so many movies out there where like this is a castle, it's so big, and like you look at it, it's like it's like 5 miles wide and it's all CGI or whatever. But Helm's Deep, it's like, nope, this is a fort, it's got a couple hundred people in it, it's a really good fort, but it's just like, this is what it looks like, you know, and it feels real the entire time. Love the part when they throw a ladder back and it lands on a shit ton of Uruks. Dude, the mega ladders that they use to breach the keep, so fucking cool. The ballista that fires the gigantic grappling, the like spear hook, and then they pull up the enormous like 200-foot tall ladder. God, those are so fucking cool. Oh my god, they're so cool. What a good movie. Watching Return of the King tonight, which is why I'm not going to be able to stream that long. You know, Return of the King's the longest one. The only bit that takes me out of it is the cavalry charge at the keep. A little bit, like the final ride. I get that. I think that a little bit more could have been done to establish how they could have charged forward without getting like speared immediately from like the 100 dudes they ran through. But again, like it's not meant to be like realistic fantasy. You're not watching like Game of Thrones or anything, right? You're watching Horse Are Scary. Yeah, but that wasn't, you wouldn't horse charge through that many. That's not ideal. You have to suspend your disbelief a little. Yeah, it's fine to suspend your disbelief a little. You know, they're heroic characters. It is real. Okay. I'm not arguing cavalry tactics with chat. Neither of us know what we're talking about. Okay, I'm not doing that. Theoden is so frustrating in that movie when he wasn't that way in the book. I mean, I don't know. I kind of sympathize with him, man. Like, the situation was pretty fucked. Like, the recommendation from Aragorn was that he ride out. He had, like, a couple hundred horsemen against an army of 10,000. I don't know. The only reason the charge worked at the end was because they were getting spearheaded behind. They were getting, like, crushed against the walls of Helm's Deep. I feel like going to Helm's Deep was the correct answer there, you know? Just like, he was just like really scared, which I think is pretty fair, you know? They cut out a sword battle between Aragorn and Sauron. Buddy, we're talking about the Two Towers right now. I'm watching Return of the King tonight. The part's super good. I just didn't like how he was so difficult before Helm's Deep. I mean, I think you could fairly argue that he was still being affected a little bit by spending years under mind control. Well, maybe not years. I don't know how long exactly. Under Saruman. The correct answer would be to gather all the Rohirrim in time and mow them down the open field. No. Against 10,000? 10,000 Uruk-hai? I don't think so, man. The Uruk-hai had crossbows. It's not like they didn't have the ability to shoot cavalry archers. Also, how fucked would they have been if the elves didn't arrive, huh? How fucked would they have been? That it would have been fucking over. The detail where in Helm's Deep and in the War of the Five Armies, like at the beginning of the first film, where when the elf archers fire through their own lines, so fucking good, man. They did in the books. Well, I'm glad they did in the movies, okay? God, I love that shit so much. That the human archers, they have to like fire in volleys or duck, like so they don't get hit by the men behind, but the elven archers can just shoot through their own ranks because they're that good. So good. So good. Such good movies. We really don't make them like those anymore. Oh, man. Also, the Uruk-hai were made to fight cavalry. Look at the pikes they had. Yeah, it makes sense because the Uruk-hai were literally made by Isengard to beat Rohan. So it made totally, like, they were the horse lords. It makes sense that they would specifically, you know, train them to fight against the horsebacks, the horse archers or whatever. So good, so good. Do you think it's safe to say Lord of the Rings is the greatest trilogy of all time? I don't know. That's such a like Reddit watch mojo thing to say, but I feel like yeah, probably based on like I would have to think, but that's probably yeah. In terms of like cultural influence or value or something, I don't know. It's crazy. It's so good. Most trilogies are dog shit at some point. Even Back to the Future. The third one is just not as good as the first or second. Still good, but like the Return of the King is really, really good. I mean, I'll be reminded of it soon when I watch it tonight. What about the original Star Wars trilogy? Return of the Jedi is not that good. Wait, I'm sorry, not Return of the Jedi. What's the last one? The sixth one? Is that Return of the Jedi? Yeah, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi is just not that great. Obviously, Empire is phenomenal. A New Hope is really good. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. Dune and Spider-Verse will top it. Man, no hate, but I do not think that Dune can possibly beat Lord of the Rings. Like, Dune is really good, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy is really, really fucking good. It's so fucking good, you know? I think a lot of it, honestly, I don't know how to put this. When you're watching The Lord of the Rings, it doesn't feel like you're watching Hollywood movies. The pacing, everything, the way it's structured, it just doesn't feel that way. It feels like you're watching a saga of something that actually happened. Right, like, again, I don't know how much of this is just like the legendary reputation of Lord of the Rings, but it does feel mythical, you know? It feels like I don't know if anything compares to it, because there are lots of good movies, but when you're watching it, it feels like you're watching a movie. But everything in Lord of the Rings comes together you're watching it and it's like, no, this is just like shit that happened, man. And a lot of that is the incredible set work and the incredible like the props, the fact that they built these environments, they used like really, really, really high quality backdrops to make everything feel like it was real and historical. A lot of it is the fact that it, you know, it was from a source material that was very detail oriented. Yeah, Tolkien is a phenomenal world builder. It felt like they always had an answer for the world. Like every moment you're in the world of Lord of the Rings, it feels like you're in a place that could have actually existed. Maybe it's that Dune is too fantastical. Maybe like or maybe it's just I don't know. I really don't know. I genuinely don't. There's something special about Lord of the Rings that really does like surpass its contemporaries. I love Dune. I'm not anti-Dune. I don't know. Dune is too cynical to be pure like Lord of the Rings. Yeah, maybe that does help. Yeah, maybe the fact that Lord of the Rings is extremely morally straightforward helps a lot, you know? It doesn't seek to challenge you on its premise. You know what I mean? Stop ignoring the Cars trilogy. Yeah. Also, can we talk about how fucking woke Tolkien was? Like, leaving aside that letter where a neo-Nazi asked him what he thought of the Jews, and he was like, they're goated with the sauce. The whole fucking plot, like from Eowyn and the whole Shield Maiden business, I shouldn't be like a woman like in the caves, I should be fighting on the field. To the whole like the number one villain that they fight in the movies or presumably the book. I haven't read the book. The number one villain is isolationism. It's not even Sauron. Like over and over and over and over again, they're like, dog, fucking take the world? Elves, can you take this shit seriously? The shit that happens there affects you. Ents, the shit that happens there affects you. Rohan, the shit that happens there affects you. Gondor, the shit that happens there affects, like, consistently the biggest stumbling block they run into over and over and over and over and over again is paranoia, isolationism, distrust in your fellow man, elf, dwarf, whatever. You get me. The Ents step up, though? Well, a lot of them do, right? I mean, basically everyone does, except for the elves. In the long run, the elves don't really, you know, they're on their way out, whatever. But it features essentialism heavily? Yeah, but come on. It's old fantasy. It's the fantasy. It's like everyone's conception of what an elf and a dwarf are came from this, you know? It's also really not, like, that essentialist, I don't think. Like, as different as they are, the hobbits, elves, dwarves, and humans all are basically the same. Like, they have different, there are like differences, but at the end of the day, they can all sit down, be friends, hang out. Like, the differences really aren't that fundamental. Do they have any good orcs? I feel like it's hard to say with the orcs because the orcs are literally an unnatural race. But even then, there are scenes where the orcs are shown like making jokes or having friends or making conversation with each other. Like the orcs are literally bred by evil. They're not like natural, you know? That's only in the movies. I've only watched the movies. I've only watched the movies. The orcs are like Freeren's demons? No, they're not. Not at all. The Freeren's demons are like openly, consciously malicious. The orcs are just like stupid and violent. And even then, they're not really that stupid. Like, there are scenes where the orcs and the Uruk-hai act pretty intelligent. They're not really that dumb. They're very competitive. Weren't there games that really did a good job of showing? Yeah, Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. They show like the orcs and the goblins in the Lord of the Rings universe are like not really, I don't want to put it like not really innately evil, more like they're just very they are evil, but they're not consciously malicious, I guess. I don't really know. I feel like if they, under the right circumstances, you could make an orc fine. I really do. I really do think that. I think that if you like killed all the orcs in a group, but one survived, and you were like, "Hey, I'll let you live and I'll give you meat, but you need to like chill the fuck out," they would probably chill the fuck out. I think they would. I think they'd be like, "All right," and then they just kind of like be crabby in a corner or something. I don't think they're that driven by a desire to kill that they would do it like at their own expense. They're pretty self-interested for the most part, you know. Are you saying they're culturally predisposed? Oh my God, yes. Absolutely. But they're also made with evil, like magically with evil. Like they're not normal. They don't like reproduce and then produce more and they are born normally. They're literally pulled out of the evil juice in the spawning pool. So it's a whole different. That's only the Uruk-hai? Oh, is that true? Do goblin? No, I thought goblins were. I thought wait, what's the difference between goblin and orc? Because so the Uruk-hai were made by Saruman. What's the difference between goblin and orc? Or are they no different? Are they just the same? Goblins are in the Hobbit. Just terminology, size. I think there technically isn't a difference. Okay, whatever. Orcs are corrupted elves. No, I know that, but like then they've been bred, right? They don't. Not every orc you see was once an elf. They don't have that many elves. Goblins are their own thing. Orcs are descendants of elves. Okay. I'll read the Silmarillion one day. Okay, Silverini, whatever it's called. It's okay. Okay. All right. So, sorry, we got. I don't have enough time today to be doing this. Okay. how Tolkien depicted the Eastern men was pretty problematic, not gonna lie. Yeah, but you know what? You know what I want to say? You know what I want to say? The very first time you see men from the East, who, yes, are like swarthy and evil with the big elephants and they serve Sauron or whatever, you know what happens the very first time you see them? Fucking, Boromir's brother looks over one of them. Faramir looks over the one who's been shot and said, "Do you think he wanted to be here? What lies and threats drove him here when he would rather be at home with his family and friends?" I'm just saying, like, I think Tolkien was pretty well. Okay, that might not be a quote from the book. Maybe that's just from the movie. But I think in the movie the message is very, very clear, which is that like the Eastern men are fundamentally not different from what Rohan would have been if they had succumbed completely to the corruption of Saruman. If the king had completely succumbed to Saruman, you know? Like, it's just people are misled. No, it is a quote from the book. Well, that's great. Wokeness prevails. Okay, well, LexiGlorp, I don't know shit about that. Moral of the story is that the Germans are evil. I didn't need the Lord of the Rings to tell me that. All right, all right. Move it along, move it along. Okay. Orcs are evil like demons. They can't be made good. They're just evil. I don't really think that's necessarily true. At all, to be honest. I just don't think it is. I don't think that's fully supported. I mean, obviously they're predisposed to it, but what's the Chud Fafo in the title? I don't know. Are we ever going to be able to get to the the content? You made the stream, pal? Read The People of Middle-earth by Tolkien sometime. I haven't even read the book. Maybe I'll read the book one day. Okay, hold on. For real. Sorry, I'm just familiarizing myself with the latest in the Chud mythos. What's going on over here in Minneapolis? So this dipshit called Jake Lang, I think he's far right. I don't really know. I think he said he was going to burn a Quran in public, and he got. I'm trying to find. Literally, that's all I know. I just want to know what's going on here. Hundreds of counter-protesters drowned out a far-right activist attempt to hold a small rally in support of Trump's administration. The latest immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. Conservative influencer Jake Lang organized an anti-Islam, anti-Somali, and pro-ICE demonstration, saying on social media beforehand that he intended to burn a Quran on the steps of City Hall, but it was not clear if he carried out that plan. Only a small number of people showed up for Lang's demonstration, while hundreds of counter-protesters converged at the site, yelling over his attempts to speak and chasing the pro-ICE group away. They forced at least one person to take off the shirt they deemed objectionable. Show us your belly, chubby. Show us your tummy. Fat boy. Dude, see, YouTube keeps telling me content's unavailable, and then I refresh, and then it's available. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It's always something. Graphic content? Jake Lang was a J6 rioter. He was in the Capitol building on video. Did he get pardoned by Trump, or was he never convicted in the first place?
I do not want to strike you. You will not. Unhand me.
This shit is so gay.
Guys, make some room. Let them get
They got
out
him. Lang is among the January 6 defendants granted clemency by President Donald Trump. He was charged with assaulting an officer with a baseball bat. Oh, so he was like an arch chud over at J6. He didn't just make his way into the building. He was over there, you know, battering police officers. All the ICE agents in the world, and they still can't get away with the tiniest little protest here. Here's Jake Lang on J6. Damn, I know this photo. Or maybe I know a similar photo. There were a lot of photos. I know this guy. Yeah. He showed up ready to party, huh? Funny article snippet about him. Lang, a 30-year-old conservative influencer who served 4 years in jail for alleged crimes in connection with the J6 attack, was hosting an anti-immigration demonstration with a small group of ICE supporters when hundreds of counter-protesters converged on the scene. The anti-ICE demonstrators and a group of reporters surrounded Lang and his associates, backing them into a recessed window along the City Hall building. Counter-protesters could also be seen hurling water balloons at Lang, leaving him soaked in water in the freezing cold. They also threw snowballs at other pro-ICE protesters, soaking them as temperatures dropped towards 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Please stop! Lang repeated to one protester who appeared to be grabbing his legs. We disavow, obviously. Show us your tummy, fat boy.
You're not going to. Take it off and you are hurt. Take it off. Nasty butt. Take it off. He gave you a chance. There you go. I got you. Get your ass up out of here.
Grabbing the back of his shirt to like make it like he's actually helping him take it off. I got you, man. Here. Like they're friends. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh, I got you. You're good.
Here you go. You got it, buddy.
Get your ass up out of here. Drop it. Drop it. I gave you a chance.
Damn, they got driven off pretty hard, huh? Were the police not even there for the opening? Dum. Apparently, this is Jake Lang a decade ago kissing the Western Wall, so that's super funny. I don't really give a shit. I think it's funny that like the fate of every neo-Nazi online is to immediately be identified as a Fed by your contemporaries. He's really going for it too, huh? I'm starting to think we don't disavow. Don't speak for me. Doesn't seem very hygienic. No, not at all. Just a fun little bit there. There's other stuff we have to talk about. More important stuff. Bad stuff. Hassan tweeted something about the attack on Jake Lang being anti-Semitic, but I genuinely don't know if it was a joke. I'm gonna assume it's probably a joke meant to poke fun at you know, the sectarian divides within the far right. Pentagon readies 1,500 troops for potential Minnesota deployment, U.S. officials say. That's not good.
The Pentagon has ordered 1,500 active-duty soldiers to prepare for a possible deployment to Minnesota, two U.S. officials told Reuters on Sunday. That follows a threat by President Donald Trump to use the Insurrection Act to quell protests there against the government's deportation drive. The Army placed the units on prepare to deploy orders in case violence in the Midwestern state escalates.
At what point is this not a civil war? Okay, listen, I need this to be official policy in chat. Mods, you need to listen to me. If you guys keep asking whether or not a civil war is happening or will happen, you're going to get muted. It's such a tedious fucking question. At what point is this not a civil war? You're talking to hear yourself talk. You're not asking me to do it. You're not asking for any information from me, okay? Please, God. It's so tedious. It happens 100 times every stream. Please stop. Please. It's facetious, man. It's like a rhetorical question. Stop. You realize that the Civil War of the United States was an actual civil war, right? It wasn't like discontent in the streets or like infighting or social unrest. It was an actual schism where states left the Union, formed their own government, and marshaled their own armies. A civil war is different. You need multiple armies. It's when there's a split in the country between existing institutions. And it's not going to happen here, okay? If what you're asking is, does this mean the civil unrest has started? Then the answer is, yeah, obviously. That started a while ago.
The officials said, though it was not clear whether any of them would be sent. The soldiers subject to deployment specialize in cold weather operations, according to the officials. They're assigned to Army infantry battalions under the 11th Airborne Division, based in Alaska, seen here in previously released Defense Department footage. The Pentagon and the White House did not immediately respond to Reuters' requests for comment on the order. It was first reported by ABC News.
Anyway, the thing that's particularly insane about this, in my opinion, is that these aren't even National Guardsmen. What's weird is that Trump has said he's not interested in invoking the Insurrection Act. I have no idea what you could possibly do with an airborne division. With like the fact that he wouldn't default to the National Guard makes me wonder if he thought that they wouldn't obey his orders if he attempted to, like it would stall the same way the other attempts to use the National Guard did. But if he's not doing the Insurrection Act bit, I have no idea what the airmen would even do. Like when we sent the airborne into, I actually forget which state, you know, to protect the civil rights protesters in the Little Rock Nine, they were like, that was Insurrection Act, you know. Was it Arkansas? Thank you, Arkansas. Yeah. I don't really know what they would do. They're also not trained in any kind of policing action. They're a purely Arctic paratrooper unit from Alaska. Why Arctic, man? Do you think ice slipped one too many times on frosty roads, and they were like, dude, this is like crazy cold over here. We need like special forces, like special cold forces or something.
Trump on Thursday had warned Minnesota officials to stop protesters from targeting Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, agents. Otherwise, he said in a social media post, quote, I will institute the Insurrection Act. The federal law...
But he has said he's backed off that. But again, it's Trump, so who the fuck knows?
...gives the president the power to deploy the military or federalize National Guard troops to stop domestic uprisings. But the president can deploy active duty forces for certain domestic purposes, such as protecting federal property, even without invoking the act. In addition, the Pentagon could also attempt to deploy newly created National Guard Rapid Response Forces for civil disturbances. Trump has sent nearly 3,000 federal agents from ICE and Border Patrol to Minneapolis and neighboring St. Paul since early last week. Confrontations between residents and the officers have intensified since an ICE agent shot.
Yeesh. If we know the DOJ is probing the governor and mayor for crimes, is it possible to utilize the Insurrection Act and the 11th Airborne to arrest them and take direct control of the city? You wouldn't need the 11th Airborne to do that. For one, no, they legally can't do that. If the Insurrection Act is invoked, that doesn't necessarily give them the right to do that. Like they can't be used willy-nilly. But also, this unit doesn't have, as Masaigu said, police training. Like it's an actual military unit, not National Guardsmen. So I don't really know. Yeah, there are some people in chat that are speculating that this might be some kind of roundabout way of getting people prepped for Greenland, but I also don't think that's true. Because if we're going to do something promptly in Greenland, it is not going to be through an Arctic Airborne Division. It's going to be through Special Forces. There is no fucking way the Pentagon would sign off on 1,500 men being deployed to Greenland, like as an opening attack. That would be, I mean, I guess nothing's impossible, but I just don't think it's likely. Never say never. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah.
Breaking news involving the southern border tonight. President Trump set to deploy an additional 1,500 troops to the border.
That is not the same. This is not even remote. I look up 1,500 troops. What do I get? I get something unrelated. Nice, nice, nice. The Minnesota National Guard has been getting equipped with high-vis vests to show they're not ICE. That is so fucking funny, dude. Holy shit. ICE fucking jacked their military tactical gear, so now the actual military is like, dude, hold on, we're not them. Yep. Now the actual military has to dress like it's not the military because federal law enforcement agencies dress too much like the military. That is crazy. And also, by the way, really smart. The idea of, like, making your camo irrelevant by putting a high-vis vest over it as a show of, like, hey, we're not those guys, that's, in a way, that's a kind of solidarity. That is a decision that they would only choose to make if their sympathies did not lie with ICE going into this, right? Like, there's no reason they would do this unless they were specifically trying to, like, hey, listen, we're not with those guys, which is good, because trust me, if the National Guard are deployed into the Twin Cities area, the last thing we want is protesters treating National Guardsmen like they're ICE. Very different groups of people, very different types of people, you know? They've already signaled that they'd fight to protect people's rights. I mean, they say that. Look, I trust a National Guardsman 1,000 times over more than I do any ICE agent. Easily, 100,000,000 times over. It's not even close, the difference between them. I would trust a National Guardsman over a cop most days. And I would trust a cop 100 times more than an ICE agent. There were so many different degrees of distrust, but ICE is on the far end of all of them. Dude, look, the right wing is mad about this. These Minnesota National Guardsmen live, work, and serve in our state. They're focused on protecting life, preserving property, and ensuring Minnesotans can safely exercise their First Amendment rights. The Minnesota National Guard, we respect the law and believe in protecting America. The right wing, maybe don't put high-vis targets on their chest like assholes. Is this a plea to the mob? You go against the federal agencies and you're going to cross a line I don't think you want to cross. This is the stuff that starts civil wars. Minnesota National Guard cuck force protecting illegals. Wild. They didn't, all they said was, we're gonna protect people's rights. Incredible, really. It's almost like the right wing knows that they have very, very few allies outside of ICE. Given these replies are probably from Indians, so we probably shouldn't take this much as a show of, like, actual American support, but from Will Stansel, greatest hero of the West, warrior of the Constitution. I'm hearing people freak out about a military deployment to Minneapolis, but it doesn't change much. It's scary, but it's the same. We still outnumber them 101. They have more guns than us either way. They can shoot. Well, I mean, technically, the citizens of Minneapolis probably have way, way more guns than either ICE, the police, or any military deployment could possibly bring to the table. But, you know, it's not, that's just a technicality. They can shoot us either way. They'll probably be easier to find and follow if they're in a tank. I don't think they're going to use a tank. Will Stansel's rather divisive on Blue Sky. Dude, Will Stansel, for whom it do be like that, has been a fucking warrior for the free world. You see, we'll follow him in a second, okay? Hold on. First, this segment ends, okay? Pentagon prepares 1,500 airborne soldiers for Minnesota deployment. Someone in Minnesota has a tank, 100% hiding one for the feds. True. Very true. Stay woke. I hear one of my neighbors right now using their washing machine, and they have put, I don't know, what are they washing? Rocks? Oh boy. I hope I hope they stop that noise soon. Jesus Christ. I appreciate being left in to cops and military. Yeah, look, it's not like, I'm not one of these, like, patriotism above all dipshits or whatever. It's more like, anybody on the left who believes that the cops, ICE, and the military all fall into the same like material category in terms of their opposition to our interests just is ignorant, you know? I just want people to know more about why things are the way they are and like what needs to be done in response to it. Because if you can't do it, I mean, it's important. It's very, very important. All right, hold your horses, okay? I need to find this damn video. I thought I retweeted it. I always think I retweet it. Do I ever actually retweet it? No, I don't. Because I'm a silly boy. I'm a silly boy. Where's that damn video? Come on, you guys know what video I'm talking about. It was like an 8-minute video. He was following ICE. It was like an 8-minute video of him following ICE. Here we go. Will Stansel, a great warrior of the West, has been live streaming, or at least recording himself, I don't know which, probably just recording himself, following ICE vehicles. This is what they're doing over here in the Twin Cities. They identify ICE vehicles, and they follow it with a convoy of vehicles, and they just spam the horn over and over and over again.
Be careful. Oh.
Day in, day out. Damn, Lib Energy being cool. Well, like I said the last time I talked about Will Stansel, you know, one of the big, for me, the big turning points here is I've seen him grow increasingly antagonistic towards do-nothing Democrats, which for me is like, yes, we can't win this unless we acknowledge the Democrats are complicit, you know? We need to work together on this. You don't have to be a damn communist to understand that the Democrats are enabling this, right? Like they're facilitating this situation. They're collaborationists. At least most of the Democrats, or enough of them. Can't you just slash their tires and break the windows? Yeah, that's a great idea. Go up to the car occupied with 8 twitching armed neo-Nazis and go ahead and smash their windows in. That's a phenomenal fucking plan you've got there. POV, you are a Fed.
Be careful, please. You're making me nervous here. Yeah.
Whoa. Have you seen the Breaking Points convo with Van Hollen? No, I have not.
Say yes, it's ICE.
Yes, it's ICE. We're heading north on, where are we on? Grand. We're heading north on Grand from 31st to Lake. We're right behind them, honking.
How fucking based is this, man?
Yep, visual confirmation on DF.
Visual confirmation on Michigan DF 874. Yeah, and the other one too. Border Patrol's uniforms.
Insanely based and brave as fuck. I'd be so scared to do this. I've seen discourse on Twitter where people were like, Will Stansel's politics are annoying, but I have to acknowledge he's braver than I'll ever be. Like, from a lot of people. They're like, we can't ever make fun of him. When this is all over, when he starts talking about, I don't know, fucking, what do liberals like to talk about? Pell Grants. when this is all over and he's like, we should do business grants in underserved communities or whatever the fuck liberals enjoy so much. We can't make fun of him because he was very heroic during the ICE occupation of the Twin Cities. You know? You get me. Yeah, when he's like, Obama wasn't that bad or whatever. I don't think he would say that now, though, because now that he's been anti-ICE pilled, he's probably that's gonna, like, affect his politics looking back. We have around 15 separate radio dispatches, one for each neighborhood and dozens more for the suburbs and St. Paul. Every dispatch/monitoring channel contains somewhere between 500 and 2,000 people. At any given time, there are probably a dozen mobile patrols and 100 on-foot observers in each neighborhood. Damn. It do be like that. The city's fully mobilized against the invaders. ICE movements are being tracked block by block, with observers following or intercepting both known ICE vehicles and suspicious vehicles. Any alert of on-foot activity will produce 50 to 100 observers within minutes. Main issue is the network is so dense that false alarms cause massive commotion. Yeah, that's pretty tough to deal with. Holy shit, he's online. Quote tweet now from a post 19 seconds ago. Phew. It do be like that, yeah. Bro's active. I mean, this right now, he's taking this like his damn job, you know? The media Minneapolis moderate right now is like, get these criminal ghouls out of our city, and working arm in arm with DSA. People not from here cannot comprehend the degree of factional rancor that instantly evaporated when men with masks showed up. God, that's based. Let's see, fighting with blue sky leftists. The funny thing is that, like, the VHS tape, you know, little dark age edit-esque aesthetic actually makes way more sense for liberals than it does for fascists, because the fascists almost always show images of America when liberalism was more dominant. They'll be like, here is America in the 1960s. Buddy, the 1960s? In the 1960s, the average person in government was a veteran of World War II, okay? They still had in their office a fucking M1 Garand with little kill notches on the butt of the gun, all right? This is not the appropriate era to hearken to you know, celebrate the end of liberalism. More comments under this one. I wonder how people feel about his dismissive attitude towards the fear-mongering over military deployment. Again, I really don't think that a military deployment to the Twin Cities would change very much. Nope. Yes. We should all carry whistles. I mean, yeah, if you live in Minneapolis right now, 100%, absolutely. I'm watching this, man. This is therapeutic for me. Nothing makes me happy quite like watching organized civilian resistance to this shit. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. So the whole city's just been honking all day, basically. There's like 2,000 ICE agents in the city.
I wait for a few exits.
On the highway.
Love it.
Ask him if he wants to talk to me, nice to socialize. I'd totally talk to Will Stansel. I don't think he likes me, though. I think I made fun of him one time or a few. I don't really think that would matter to him now, though. He might just dislike me. Yeah, you did. I don't remember exactly what I said. Lol, one time or a few. Listen, okay, I've got a bad memory.
I'm gonna follow the first one. You follow the theft at 150. Oh, here he comes.
So, base, there are white people standing guard outside Somali mosques blocking ICE. Talked to a Somali man today who said his mosque last night was surrounded by neighbors ready to protect them against ICE if needed. It made me feel proud to live in the city. Unfortunately, Aaron Rupar sucks the dick of politicians who think that ICE still needs its funding raised. He's like fully on board with the like, well, if we simply gave them more money for training, you know? Not a good liberal. Speaking of that, hold on. Will Stansel, champion of the West. Good liberals, an oxymoron anyway. Hey, we have at least one. Will Stansel. All right. But yeah, speaking of. Cory Booker, just a couple of days ago, reading the moment. Reading the moment perfectly.
We must do more. The tragic death of Renee Good.
More funding.
Has brought into clear spotlight so many of the things the Trump administration is doing to make our communities less safe. But one of the most alarming crises are issues of training and accountability standards for ICE officers. The Trump administration has cut the training down from 5 months to about a month and a half. They have eliminated age requirements and are hiring recruits as young as 18 years old. They're putting people into training before their background checks are even complete. And so when you see people cut corners, people die. I'm continuing to lead new legislation.
I just like, and I hope nobody watching this would disagree with this. The idea that the reason ICE is killing people is because they're not well trained enough is Nazi propaganda. Genuinely, or at the very least, Nazi apologia, which as far as I'm concerned is Nazi propaganda. Like an unbelievable thing to say, genuinely. Thankfully, nobody seems to like this. 7.6 thousand comments, 3.7 thousand likes. But it doesn't matter, right? Like the reason he's saying this is because he doesn't listen to his constituents. Does Cory Booker not know Jonathan Ross was a DHS firearms instructor who'd been working there for over a decade? No, he does, or maybe he doesn't. He just doesn't really care. It's just corporate Democrats, okay? Like Cory Booker has always been like this. Always. Well, I mean, 10 years of training didn't fix it then, did it, nuts? I'm starting to feel like he'll be successfully primaried in 26. That would be nice, but this is the attitude of most of the Democrats. The reason most Democrats are being so quiet right now, or they're not, they're not answering, or they're not leaping to the call to abolish ICE, is because at the end of the day, like ICE is a wing of the MIC, right? Like they are a recipient of a great deal of money. That money doesn't just go nowhere; it goes places. There are lots of fingers in that pot or pie or whatever, however the saying goes, and they're susceptible to those influences. The reason they don't seem to read the room is because they're not trying to. These people hate us, man. They fucking hate us. This is what I mean about like the continuation of these problems. We are like a Gavin Newsom presidency would do nothing but cement all of the conditions that will then later be exploited. Not only under his administration, but by the next one too, you know? Real transformative change is our only way out. We are running out of time. The saying is, has his fingers in a lot of pies. So I guess this one would be, there's a lot of fingers in one pie. So dirty.
That will bring further high professional standards and accountability to ICE officials. We must also set minimum training standards. We must ban the hiring of anyone affiliated with hate groups. We must hold agency leaders accountable. We must require every federal officer to wear a body-worn camera during public-facing enforcement.
I have no more patience for people who think Newsom's the 2028 shoo-in after recent polls showing he's got worse head-to-head polling than 5 or 6 other Dem frontrunners. Yeah, have you seen he's like 5 points down versus fucking J.D. Vance? Insane. Any attempt to push this guy as a frontrunner candidate, as far as I'm concerned, is like another example of malicious incompetence on their part. This is the new normal. They want us to live with ICE. Again, well, the only problem people like Cory Booker have with ICE is that the Republicans are wielding it ineptly and loudly. Most Democrat politicians are on board with the idea of the Constitution and our rule of law being eroded in favor of a highly technocratic system where oligarchs and cultural elites rule over us. They still work with Israel. They still work with Palantir. They still work with Silicon Valley. They're perfectly comfortable working with all of these AI megacorps who every day go out there and say to their shareholders, "We're evil. We want to abolish the human spirit. We will make it obsolete. Every day, we will subject you to levels of surveillance and scrutiny that were previously thought only possible in science fiction." And then the Democrats go ahead and talk to them like they're normal people, you know? And that's because, again, and I've said this many times before, but I really mean this, and I hope people don't think I'm being facetious. I think that most people in charge think liberalism is done. Liberalism was a political experiment that began, give or take, 200 years ago, right? It's brought about some great gains, but there are problems, okay? Liberalism, as an ideology, is incompatible with capitalism. A system where enormous amounts of power are accrued by very, very few cannot be compatible with democracy. And they have chosen one over the other, and we know which one they have chosen. Because every day they do things that erode liberalism and preserve the corporate oligarchy. Like, we know which side they've taken. When they take steps to work against the corporate oligarchy, it's always in some banal reformist way, like, no, that's too much too fast. But they never really push back, not hard at least. They're only interested in a stable erosion of democracy. You know, they don't really care about, like, the actual reclaiming of lost territory. I think that the powers that be have more or less agreed that this experiment is on its way out, and what they need to do is build the economic, political, and social conditions in the United States and in other first world countries that would allow for that kind of oligarchy without society devolving into total chaos, you know? Because I think they're aware of the fact that because we have a robust civil society, most people probably wouldn't be on board with, like, a king taking over out of nowhere. Like, there'd be so many problems with that, and it'd be so messy. And how would you even do it? And who would you choose the guy? Like, how would you choose the guy? No, right? Like, the world's too complicated to make that work, you know? But what they can do is they can introduce more and more of these systems, policing, surveillance, right? The gig economy, the erosion of, like, localized economic power in favor of multinational corporate power, right? That slowly, but nonetheless deliberately and assuredly, wean away all these systems that we used to have to allow us to preserve the democratic intent. Anyway, yeah, I think that Cory Booker is one of these people. He sees the end coming, and he's just looking to facilitate a stable transition from point A to point B. His problem with the Republicans is that they're doing an unstable transition. They're facilitating an unstable transition. Don't you think this kind of unique incompetence and stupidity was common back in the day too? No, I do not. I do not think there is much of a historical equivalent for this behavior from the Democrats. Or if you do see a historical equivalent, it's usually because they're in service of the same powers. Like, people who are nominally in favor of one thing, very transparently supporting another thing, usually history unveils the reason. because they were in the pocket of the people who benefited from the second thing. I just think that what we're seeing now is more foundational, more transformative, you know? What happened to the US, man? It's not just the United States. Not just the United States. The exact same thing is happening just as quickly, if not faster, in the United Kingdom. It's happening in France. It's happening in Germany. They have the same surveillance well, I shouldn't overstate my case. They don't have the same surveillance contracts, but they've got similar issues. Surveillance and corporate power, it's happening everywhere. It's not happening in Canada? Yes, it is, Masaigu. Your people can't even have fucking strikes without the Prime Minister shutting it down.
Actions and require that footage be preserved so that the truth can't be hidden or destroyed. What Donald Trump is doing is undercutting the strength of our law enforcement. He is diminishing and diluting standards.
Yeah, that's like China. Like I said, Dengus. Well, I'll give them credit for one thing. You know, China did indeed find a stable form of eroding what might have been liberal intent in their country.
He is taking actions.
What comes after the end game? Stop asking me rhetorical questions
that are wholly unacceptable to the safety of our nation.
Hillary Clinton had no idea how important the 2016 election was. Yes, she did. She knew fully well. She's 100% on board with what Cory Booker's doing here. She thought that Donald Trump would advance a more unstable social transition from point A to point B, and she was completely correct. Yeah, if Hillary Clinton had won, many of the same things would have happened. The crisis at the border, ICE funding skyrocketing, Palantir, AI investment, corporate control, oligarchy, like many of the same things would have happened fundamentally. She would have handled it more competently. Yeah, support for Israel, October 7th, et cetera, you know. Certainly, this explanation makes a lot more sense than the idea that all of these, you know, Ivy League educated Democrats are somehow so stupid that they really think that the reason ICE is doing bad things right now is because they're not getting enough training. Like, just all of these extremely well-connected, intelligent Democrats who have legions of resources available to them, advisors, consultants, interns, all of them have just simultaneously arrived at the conclusion that ICE is fundamentally okay, even though our country didn't even have it 20 years ago and was fine without it, and that the way to fix this problem is to give them more money. Like, there's just somehow they arrived at that. No, of course not. It's not incompetence, and it's not stupidity. Grim stuff. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune compiled a chilling recap of multiple incidents showing ICE agents escalating aggression towards innocent bystanders, including detainments, threats of violence, and physical abuse.
Shame on you.
Love your local paper.
Listen, have y'all not learned from the past couple of days? Have you not learned?
Learned what? What's our lesson here? What do you want us to learn?
Following federal agents.
Give me my phone back. No, you can't take my phone.
This is your warning. This is your warning.
For what?
Stop fucking following us. You are impeding operations.
So let people go to church.
You did not learn from what just happened? You gotta move. Get out of the way.
I don't pose.
5 ICE officers approached my vehicle, boxed me in with their vehicles, and all 5 of them forcibly removed me from my car, threw me to the ground, which is where I got some of the road rash on my face. And I was detained at the Whipple Detention Center for approximately 10 hours yesterday.
I came across an ICE agent. They were turning onto a major highway, and as they were turning, I had a walk signal on and started crossing the street. And when I wasn't moving as quickly as they would like, both the driver and passenger jumped out of the car, and they pulled weapons on us while they were driving, I might add. Not even pulled over, and fired rubber bullets.
Yeesh. Man, I'm so glad I don't live in the U.S. Things seem to be getting so tense. It'll happen to you too, unfortunately. Not ICE necessarily, but look, at the end of the day, the incompetence of the Democrats is not one of complicity because that's deliberate. The incompetence is that they're really bad at selling it. The way that democratic governments have gotten elected and reelected, the way they've sold themselves to the people is through the idea that they can make people's lives better. I think we're reaching a point where no party can make that claim. In the West, in basically every developed country, over the past 20 or 30, maybe even 40 years, things have not meaningfully gotten better. Socially transformative policy is no longer on the table. We used to have that. After World War II, for example, you know, we get you get your Social Security and your GI Bill and your, you know, you get like big like massive policy, government money churning forward, huge investment. Now we're more productive and wealthy than ever. Where does that money get us? Nowhere. Governments are struggling to pay for just the maintenance of the stuff they used to build on the daily. Unfortunately, as these governments struggle with, like, look at what's happening in the United Kingdom right now. The most unpopular UK party is always the one that's in power. None of them are going to do anything because none of them can do anything. There's no money in the United Kingdom. If Reform gets in charge, I give them 6 months at most before their popularity craters and everyone jumps ship and makes a new party or whatever else. Nothing, it doesn't, the fundamental premise that these parties advertise themselves to you with the idea that they might make your life better is no longer working. Like they don't offer anything anymore. People are becoming contented with smaller and smaller, you know, crumbs pulled off the table. And if you can no longer excite people with the promise of a better world, then democracy doesn't really work much. It doesn't really work that much anymore, like as a concept. It's not really like a good mobilizing force. It's not like an effective mechanism for getting people involved. And if people stop believing in the idea that things can get better, look at how many Republicans right now are desperately clinging on to the hope that Trump can make things better, even as day after day they're proven or given evidence that that's not true, right? Like so many Republicans who see prices are not going down, nothing's getting better in their day-to-day lives, jobs are not getting more plentiful, and many of them will acknowledge it, right? Like they'll acknowledge, yeah, we're not happy with how this is going, but they still think it will get better. They deluded themselves into thinking the reason things didn't improve under Trump's first term was because of the rhinos blocking him or whatever, but that's not true. That wasn't the reason why. What do you think the 80 million or so people in this country who believe that Trump is the salvation, right? Like Trump is the way forward. What do you think they're going to do if they realize he's not? Like, what do you think these asocial, stupid, violent people are going to be like if they ever truly accept the idea that Trump couldn't fix things, nobody could fix things? You think democracy can survive that, I don't know, social nihilism? I think that's why they're all in favor of Palantir and AI and corporate oligarchy and so on. They think that as this system falls apart, which it will, like, soon, it is now, and it will only get worse, they want to jump ship, they want to move to something more stable. And I think that most people in power right now think the future is AI, technocracy, oligarchy, surveillance, right? Like the only way humanity can survive the realization that things aren't getting better is if you shift expectations. It's not about getting better anymore. Now, safety and stability are the new things on the table. Don't expect things to improve. But if the AI companies, Palantir, whatever else, if we can make crime zero or close to zero by putting surveillance cameras in every grocery store aisle, all connected to a big database that deploys drones to your location if something goes awry, you know, if we can stop shoplifting because every time you check out at the grocery store, you've got, you know, modern supercomputers analyzing your hand movements to make sure that you never, ever, ever reach into your pocket while carrying something that hasn't been scanned yet. You know, if we can give people stability, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's better than being able to not being able to give them stability, but also not being able to give them hope. Sorry, I understand that I'm rambling, but I genuinely think that's the, not this, sorry. I genuinely think that's the reason you get shit like this. I really do. I think they're making a bid for the future. It's a very, very dark one, but I think that's what they think things are going to pan out to be. I think they're wrong, though. See, the problem is they ain't watched enough of my streams. I don't think that what they're betting on is actually a stable social form. Funnily enough, stability isn't actually that stable. There are necessary levels, Durkheim writes on this, there are levels of socially required friction that you have to allow. The absence of those degrees of social friction create instability in themselves. Like a bridge, you know, you can't build a bridge perfectly rigid. If you do, then the next earthquake will bring it down. You need it to have flexibility at its joints and parts and so on. A good example of this would be like the Soviet black market. Under Stalin, the USSR was incredibly totalitarian and a surveillance state, at least in its larger cities. And there were many instances of people just saying the wrong thing or gesturing the wrong way and being disappeared because of it. But a robust black market was still allowed to exist because the belief that they still had some degree of freedom outside the eyes of the government, it wasn't real. The government was fully aware of the black market, right? But the idea that they had that was necessary to them. It allowed them the belief that they could still operate outside the the totalitarian surveillance state. You need those socially necessary degrees of friction. You understand. Yeah, prisoners. Prisoners are given freedom to trade and steal and so on, often in prisons, because it's actually worse if they're not. If you don't allow them some minor degree of criminality within the prison, they tend to get agitated and more violent than they would otherwise be. Vosh, you talk about lack of stability, but your country has been the standard of stability. Have you been anywhere in Latin America? You're thinking of a different kind of stability. See, the Latin American tendency towards junta and revolution and coup attempt facilitated by the CIA and so on, that is actually, in a way, its own form of stability because it still produces in its population a desire to see the world better. The stability that I'm referring to is a gray nothingness, the opposite of what Latin America is, at least in my mind, I guess. People in Latin America still believe strongly, hope for the future, but we're losing that right now in the US and the UK. It's not really about, it's not really about stability as in like low crime rate, more about stagnation and the resignation to the idea that things can't be improved. I think a lot of people in most Latin American countries still have a pretty high bar above them, right? There's like a big old ceiling up there. They think there's still something that can be done. Maybe they're wrong, but it's good that they believe that. It's very important that they believe that. How the fuck do I title this? This feels doomer? No, I think that it's a prescription. It's an explanation of how Cory Booker and people like him think about the world. I don't think about the world this way because I don't think the world they think that they're building is actually stable. I think that the world they're attempting to build is very unstable. I think the difference here is, I'm a Marxist and they're not. Like, I think that they're describing a reification of the pro-bourgeois labor dichotomy that doesn't actually have like a stable end form, you know? Some things that are bad are very stable. Feudalism is not great, but it's also incredibly stable. But its stability relied on material conditions. You know, feudalism stopped being stable in many places as soon as the technology that facilitated it was made obsolete, you know? Much like how people stopped building big castles after cannons were invented, you know? Who's going to build a castle when, you know, you can build a machine that can knock it down from a great distance, right? What's the point? You know, cannons become more and more plentiful. Now you build forts, big walls that you fire from, but you wouldn't build a castle keep, you know? Nobody's going to storm your keep with swords, right? They're going to knock it down from the outside. And if nobody's building castles, how do you do feudalism? The whole point of feudalism is that you have like a central power base where an aristocrat, a lord, king or whatever, you know, they rule from like a fortified central position, and then you have these distributed, you know, lands that are owned by the lord but run by the serfs, and you don't return to stability by returning to the previous like idioform, because the material conditions beneath your feet, it's senseless, you know? It would be like acknowledging that you are standing stably upright with both of your feet level because you're on flat ground, but then later you're standing on a staircase and you attempt to return to stability by placing your feet at equal heights, irrespective of the fact that each of your feet are on different steps. All you'll be doing is raising the lower foot up the height of one step. You're not actually stabilizing yourself. You're doing the opposite. So techno-feudalism is lazy thinking? Yes, it is. It's lazy, and it's ideologically vacuous. And there's a reason why the people who push for it, like Peter Thiel, are actually genuinely very stupid, very dumb. Those Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance types who all seem to like push it or forefront it, they don't really talk about the details that much, because the detail they're focused on is the one where they get to be king. That's what they care about. The Democrats... No, hold on. Wait, I got a YouTube title. The real reason the Democrats still want to raise ICE funding. This has been a fun little bit, hasn't it? I hope you all take it to heart. This is because if you're ever wondering why I feel the way that I do, this is my guiding theory right now for why things are like this. You know, this is like when I make prescriptive statements, or when I say this is why this is what I believe. I think this is what they're pushing for, and this is what we have to be ready for. It's the reason why you can't trust these Democrats. Oh, I see people in YouTube chat are being disagreeable. I can address this very briefly. Vosh's life has also substantially improved over the last 20 years. In the United States, over the past 20, 30, 40 years, we have not seen a substantial improvement in the material quality of life for most people. I would argue it has been the opposite. Obviously, technological advancements have continued, but social advancements and the allocation of existing wealth has skewed unequally. In many cases, not just unequally, but against us. Like, again, yeah, tech has gotten better, but that's not really what I'm talking about. There is no iPhone model that will cure income inequality. It's been getting worse, you know? And I'm not the only person to say that, right? It's pretty understood. Anything else? Vosh needs to refrain talking about Latin American politics. It's embarrassing. I don't think I said anything inaccurate. I think my assessment that many countries in Latin America, despite the continuous political instability, still believe in democracy, believe in the idea that if you elect the right person, things can be made better. I think that that is more prominent there than it is in the United States and the United Kingdom. And I think that's because there's the ceiling is higher above, right? They haven't had this like big period of imperial decay the way that we have, where you have, you know, it seems like you've achieved everything, and then it turns out the only thing you got for it was corporate acquisition of everything that used to be thought of as a common good. And yeah, for the most part, you guys are fine. You're not being too mean to me. That's good. Okay. Is there anything we can do to push back against techno-feudalism? Sure, because it's not a real thing. Push back against fascism, do what you can, you know. Look, material conditions being what they are, we all really don't know what's coming next. The next big schism, like the two big foundational changes that we're going to have to prep for, or I don't know, is like a, you know, new zeitgeists or whatever, new paradigms. The big two are AI, which allows for unparalleled surveillance state technology, and global warming. Those are the two big ones, you know. Those are the big ones we're going to have to work with. And as is always the case, any kind of social unrest or fear of the future is going to be weaponized by strongmen who will tell you that the only way forward is to, you know, ignore these petty cultural grievances. What about the debt crisis? Oh man, I forgot about that one for a second. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Phew. Forgot about that one. That's bad though. It's very bad. My father worked as a data guy for the last 20 years and retired. I have his same job and make about 1/5 of what he did. Don't worry, Robert Field 45. That money didn't go nowhere. I guarantee you that your boss makes much, much more than 5 times what your dad's boss did. So there you go. Yeesh. On AI surveillance, Ring has already partnered with Flock. Yeah. All Ring doorbell cameras linking to form a big surveillance network that tracks everyone walking through your neighborhood, feeding the information back to law enforcement and to, businesses. How interesting. Well, anyway. You kept up with Syria? No, my own country's been falling apart lately, I'm afraid. And it's distracted me. I don't know if I'll have time to get to anything international today. I'm already getting pretty close to how long I can run for today. After all, I am seeing Return of the King in theaters soon, you know? That's pretty cool. There's still some good in the world, you know? Yeah, the Border Patrol chief is very, very fond of dressing up like this. He loves doing promotional photos where he's in his goddamn SS uniform. It's not really an SS uniform, of course, but it is strikingly similar to the design ethos of World War II officer uniforms in the cold. He's very fond of dressing up like them. And, you know, typically the people who like dressing like that are, you know, we know what they are.
Out of the road now! Hey, jump that bottle! Jump that bottle! Hold! Hey, watch the guy right here at the bottom! Everybody's over here! Stay out of the road! Fuck you!
Jesus, they're all so goddamn loud. Was this guy also appointed by Obama? Actually, not quite. According to Wikipedia, in 1996, he joined the United States Border Patrol. This guy's actually been Hitlerite before ICE existed. He was in El Paso. By 2008, he had become an assistant chief at the Border Patrol sector in Yuma. That year, he was promoted to the patrol agent in charge of the station in Blythe, California, and then later, chief of the sectors in New Orleans and El Centro, California. So he was only elevated to ICE in Trump's current administration, but he's been around since the Clinton years, since before ICE. How interesting. And what a innate condemnation of ICE and Border Patrol that even somebody who's been in the system since 1996 would still end up being, when given the chance, a hyper-Hitlerite, you know? Based. Cory Booker would say he just needed more training.
Welcome to Waterloo, motherfucker!
Good to see so much energy from the people here, huh? God bless you, Minnesota. Oh, you think you're really something, aren't you? Or whatever the fuck he said, whatever incoherent Canadian snow moose babble he just expressed. God, that's good.
We don't have like you. Get up, fucking lie. Kill me. You're the only one lie here, dude. I hope we won't hurt you. We won't hurt you. We will not hurt you. That's your job, to pull that fucking trigger, isn't it? To be ready to kill somebody who looks like me. Look at me. You want to kill somebody who...
These people are based as fuck, dude. Jesus Christ. These people get his ass, man.
Looks like me. That's your job. That's what you signed on the line for. Do you want to kill me? Do you want to be the next guy to kill you?
You fucking cowards! You fucking cowards! Yeah, you're looking at me! You're looking at me! You got no backbone! Coward!
By the way, to my earlier point, Snow Moose Babble, nice to know what you really think of us, Lamau. Ah, I'm sorry. I got friends in cold places. Got messages on my phone. What was I saying? Oh yeah, to my earlier point and why I'm not like particularly doomer, stuff like this is one of the reasons why. Like again, if I was like the idea behind tech feudalism is that at the end of the day, Americans will acquiesce, or people everywhere will acquiesce to a return to open, naked authoritarianism, right? Like they will accept the decline of democracy and they will allow this to happen. And no, they fucking won't at all. Like the showing from the Twin Cities, not a massive or like metropolitan area, you know, compared to some others, has been enough to basically break the back of ICE. It's not nothing. I really do not think, like, I think that the Trump administration is an experiment from the powers that be as to whether or not open, naked, militarized authoritarianism is capable of like, are we ready to end the democratic experiment, basically? Like, Trump is our guy to attempt this. Is this an effective method for ending it? You know? I think that's also one of the reasons why the Democrats have been kind of quiet about opposing Trump, you know? Because they're all thinking the same thing themselves. We've made the mistake of assuming Democrats think nothing will ever change. I think it's actually the opposite. A lot of Democrats are thinking, yeah, it's about time for the world order to shift over. Is this the way it's going to happen? You know? Like, is this the way of transitioning this government into a new form, a form that is compatible with the new world? And I don't think it is. And I think that a lot of them are very confused and upset. And I think that's why the Trump administration is doubling and tripling down.
Fucking country. Can you read? Can you read? Your country. Is he 5'2"? How about you?
Bosch, I think you're attributing malice where incompetence fits better. No, I don't accept this. I do not. The idea that the entire party, from the Democrats to Keir Starmer over in the United Kingdom, the idea that just coincidentally all liberals fold and do nothing when in such convenient ways. By the way, I don't necessarily think it's malice. Have you considered the possibility that people like Cory Booker legitimately think this world order is on its way out and they want the peaceful option on shifting things over? Sure, they're dishonest either way, but I think that's probably more likely that the idea that they're weak and collaborationist more so than all of these people are just really stupid in exactly the same way, you know? God, can you imagine being one of these fucking people? Day in and day out, they're probably getting talked to by corporate lobbyists and, you know, middlemen and fucking proselytizers of the New World Order, explaining to them, yeah, you don't really think this is going to continue forever, right? Don't you want a way out that's easy and convenient? You want things to fall apart? You know climate change is coming. You know the water crisis is coming. You know the debt crisis is coming. Like, you really want us to hit the fan with all this unresolved? It'd be a lot easier if we just transitioned over into a tech oligarchy quickly and quietly so that we're better prepared to handle those problems. Now, I stand by it. They got the Tim Walls.
You're all fucking pretend! Coward chicken shit fucks!
You are not a soldier! You did not earn that uniform! Take it off and go home!
Fuck you, fascist! Fuck you! You're weak! You're pathetic!
Square jaw. Valid position. Validated by the angle.
I see you, fascist! I see you! We all see you! You can't hide!
I didn't know you were such a midget! You tiny little piece of shit! Piece of shit! You love this too with your sausage! You peaked in high school! You peaked in high school! You fucking bully! You fucking bully! You! Back from me, are one of the best terrorists! Shit! You fucking hate me! You! Back from me!
I just enjoy the civil disobedience. Jesus Christ, man. Meal Team 6. Look at some of these guys. They're squeezing them into these fucking, into these uniforms.
Shitty job! You get killed, that's what happens apparently. According to you fucker. Back up, Nazis! Back up, Nazis! Back up, Nazis!
Really doesn't look like ICE is in control here, huh?
Cowards! Traitors!
Oh, we get an interview at the end.
This time, it's just a show of force. It's just saying, hey, we can clear you at any time. You're here at our will, even though you're on public grounds and it's 100% legal, First Amendment protected to be here. You might be off the street a little bit, and that's enough for us to knock you to the ground on the freezing cold ground and pull you back inside. And yeah, it's just a show of force and a show of violence. And I always remind you, we're out here for Status Coup. We're on the Mighty's Touch Partnership Network, and we want to remind you, support our work, keep us in hand warmers, and
yeah, you're gonna need those. It's awfully cold out there right now. Don't these people have jobs? I don't know. Was this filmed on a weekend? One day ago. Yesterday was Saturday. What do you want? What time of day was it? Also, who works a 9 to 5 anymore, huh? I mean, some people do, but a lot of people don't. Everyone's on that gig economy shit. I do, kinda. Well, I hope you get benefits. Why? Genuinely, does anyone understand why YouTube's doing this to me? I just refresh and then it fixes itself, but it's annoying. I'll look it up later.
We're joined now by the mayor of Minneapolis, Mr. Jacob Fry. Good morning to you, Mr. Mayor. The secretary specifically called on you to set up a safe zone where protests would be contained. Is that something you're looking at?
Try an incog
First
window?
Amendment
Okay.
speech is not limited to one park or one section of the city. You are allowed to protest so long as you're doing it peacefully. And by the way, we've got tens of thousands of people in Minneapolis that are grinning down the bear, that are peacefully expressing their First Amendment rights. So no, you can't have just one section of a city. That's not the way First Amendment works.
I want to ask you a number of things about what's happening in the city. But
Oh, wait, guys, I like that messaging. I mean, I don't like Jacob, but I appreciate the fact that he's reaffirming, you know, right to protest means right to protest. It doesn't mean you don't want like little fucking. Oh, sorry, I opened an incog window, and that means advertisements and everything.
Brand new CNN.
Okay, I'm not getting that error anywhere here. So it's definitely caused by an add-on. What add-on could be affecting this? I guess I'll have to look around. Also, I'm noticing that in an incog window, the YouTube video is loading much faster than it does normally. Ad block? No, I have my ad block off for YouTube.
they just want to get
Autoplay blocker? Maybe it's the autoplay blocker, yeah.
out of the way. These reports that have been in the press since Friday, that you and Governor Tim Walz are under federal investigation. CBS reporting is that this is for alleged conspiracy to impede immigration agents. The Deputy Attorney General also said earlier this week he's going to stop you, quote, from your terrorism. Have you received any subpoena or any official notice that you are under investigation, and if so, for what?
We have not received any.
The DOJ says they've opened an investigation into Fry and also into Tim Walz. So, you know, they're probably just they're probably bluffing.
Official anything at this point. And so I can't comment on what I don't know about. That being said, this whole dynamic is deeply concerning because supposedly they would be coming for me and targeting me for something that is core and critical to my job as mayor, and that is speaking for my residents and my constituents. That we are at a place right now where the Department of Justice or the federal government could be coming after senators and governors and mayors simply for speaking for their respective constituencies and disagreeing with this federal administration. I mean, this kind of thing happens in other countries. This cannot happen in America.
Well, our reporting is it's impeding immigration agents, but the specifics of that, we would love to see some paperwork on from the administration. In terms of what's happening in your city, the Minnesota National Guard was mobilized Saturday by the state, which the police chief supported as potential support for his local law enforcement. They have not been deployed. Do you think your city needs them, and how would you describe the protest this weekend?
We are doing the work to keep people safe in our city, and specifically, it is our local.
You know what he could legally say that would be based and would immediately be like the aura farming we need in this moment? All he'd have to say is, if the National Guard is deployed, I hope it is deployed to protect people from ICE. That's it. There's nothing legally preventing him from saying that.
Police officers. It is the state of Minnesota and our governor. We are doing everything possible to keep the peace, notwithstanding this occupying force that has quite literally invaded our city. I mean, we've got 600 cops in the city of Minneapolis, and we're talking about 3,000 plus ICE agents and border control that have come in. They're not making our city safer. In fact, our city has been safe. Crime is down in virtually every category and virtually every neighborhood of the city.
You said occupying force. Don't you think it's a bit much?
Fuck you, lady.
I mean, look, you can go through whatever rhetorical flourish you want, but when you have 3,000 ICE agents and border control come to the city, when you've got this supposed threat of 1,500 military coming to the city, yeah, that's very much what it feels like. When you outnumber local police officers.
It's what it is, man, not just what it feels like.
That is the vibe. And so the bottom line is, if the goal were safety, this is not how you get there. If the goal is safety, I can give you a very antidote to some of the violence that we're seeing, and it's have them leave.
Well, they argue, the administration that is, that this is a sanctuary county and a sanctuary city, and they are enforcing federal immigration law, and that, therefore, this is called for, that they're cleaning up a mess that the last administration created. I mean, how do you prescribe in this unprecedented situation for local and federal officials to work together here?
We have worked together. We do work together when this is about getting murderers and rapists and all the other bad stuff that Kristi Noem just said off the street. We have worked with the DEA and the FBI. We've worked with the ATF and the U.S. Attorney.
Will Stansel's going to get your ass, dog. He's going to get you. I'm just warning you. He's going to get you. A dark warrior of the night. He's going to get you. Don't want to get Stanseled. I can't be on much longer anyway. I do want to know about this. After that, I'm reading donos and saying howdy. Then I gotta go.
The European Union is holding an emergency meeting today after President Trump threatened on Saturday to impose a new 10% tariff on Denmark and 7 other European nations until a deal is reached for the U.S. to purchase Greenland. The EU saying in a statement the president's move could undermine transatlantic relations. Meanwhile, on Thursday, in an extraordinary step, troops from NATO countries across Europe, American allies all.
This is covering information I already know.
Of America.
Now we're everywhere.
Things. What a cute shirt.
Now we're everywhere.
Things have changed.
We need Greenland for national security very badly. If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security.
President Trump has made it his mission to take possession of Greenland, even though the Kingdom of Denmark and the people of the island have made it clear it's not on the market.
Greenland is not for sale, so what is on the table from the U.S. side right now is not interesting for us, and you can't buy a country.
Greenland is a sparsely populated island, the least densely populated territory on the planet. But as the globe warms, the ice on the island and in the water around it is starting to melt, revealing new
that fucking bubbling noise, dude. Jesus Christ.
Shipping lanes and the potential for resources like rare earth minerals. Most importantly, Greenland's location between North America and the Arctic means it's crucial as an early warning system in the event of a Russian missile attack. But the U.S. military already operates a base on Greenland's northwest tip. The president's position is baffling for the people of Greenland and the broader Kingdom of Denmark.
The door in Greenland is wide open for almost any type of American activity that you think you need.
Denmark is one of the United States' most reliable allies.
Does anybody know how to turn off the new, very new AI prompt at the top of inbox in Gmail? Like you open an email and now there's a big box at the top saying, would you like to AI translate this? You can't, it's permanent. Jesus fucking Christ. Dude, they just fucking force updated my phone and now I have this bullshit iPhone glass. It's so bad. It's so ugly, dude. Every UI element now has this weird blurry transparency on the text. They're like, you know what people want? They want blurry, semi-transparent text. It's so fucking ugly. You can turn it off? No, you can't. You can tint it, or you can turn it off by forcing a like accessibility feature for reducing text transparency, but it doesn't change the broader thing.
A country that suffered more losses per capita in Afghanistan in the wake of 9/11 than the Americans did. If Donald Trump wants to rebuild military bases or mine for minerals, Denmark is willing to make it happen.
It's unclear why we would spend any money
on acquiring Greenland when we effectively have all the access to it we already want.
Again, I love the idea that the reason it would be bad to annex Greenland is because it's irrational, because they're already subservient to us anyway.
Reminding the president of Denmark's record of friendship is part of the goal of a bipartisan group of congressional members who traveled to Copenhagen to provide support for the people of Greenland. They opposed Trump's march towards obtaining Greenland and avowed to not offer any congressional support.
It would be a bad deal if we had to pay for it.
The price tag to buy Greenland could be more than $700 billion, and Congress has shown no willingness to appropriate those funds. The assurances from Congress do little to ease the fears of the average person in Greenland or Denmark, worried that the president has yet to take military action off the table.
Back home, the children are worried, the adults are not sleeping.
They also don't buy that this is just Trump's art of the deal in action. They feel they have no option but to take him at his...
Never mind, this is also exhausting. I've got to go soon anyway. Suppose I'll read donations. I need to shave. Son of Lycos, thank you for the $5. Love? I do love, thank you. Maknazi River, thank you for the $5. I'm an MPLS and a software engineer, so all my coworkers are nerds. They're very excitedly 3D printing whistles, haha. Oh, wonderful. 3D printers are very fun, I assume. I've never used one. Conciliator and 5-Foot Felon, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. 5-Foot Felon says, been a long time YouTube viewer, thought it was about time to join your site. Hey, thank you. Much appreciated. Love the content and keep up the great work. I really appreciate that. Welcome, you know, funny. We just had all that site shenanigan stuff, which ended up not even being because of the site. Hypothetical Hippo, thanks the tier 2 sub. Minnesota once again proving that it's the most base state in the nation. God, I love my state. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to go ahead and agree with you on that one. But, you know, I don't really have much of a contender, like in the other direction. I think the base state would obviously have to be the wokest state, and I just don't know if Minnesota cuts that. The only contender is New York. Nah, the only interesting part of New York's the one city, ain't it? McScoots, thank you for the very kind $10. Attention, Vosh. Sleeper agent reactivation's been authorized. Activation code Beta Ligma Gunner. Welcome back, Seattle Winter Soldier. Leave no survivors. Were there only ICE protests for me to go and join? Thank you. And Zivanevskaya, thank you for the $10. Hate the media, still mad about CNN acting like Iran's media blackout and crackdown is unprecedented when Israel's been killing journalists for years. Fuck them. Yep. They'll always, it's never, again, like no attention paid. And again, like people will try to tell you that it's because of ignorance, right? I'm sorry, man. We got to get more deep state pilled, okay? We simply have to get more deep state pilled. Have you guys seen the Polo Ralph Lauren showcasing that's been on the runway? They've been putting some good stuff out there. I love their big Oxford so damn much. Look at that. No one layers like Ralph Lauren, you know? This is the Ralph Lauren tuck. A massive shirt, only the bottom buttons tucked, and then you give it a very loose tuck. So you have this big billowing open center framing for whatever you want underneath. So good. So much good stuff this year, man. Look at this. Not a huge fan of all this like super baggy. Could you pull this off in real life? Yeah, I've dressed like that. But look at this jacket. Oh boy. That is phenomenal. A big like leather flight overcoat. Jesus Christ. Now, Polo Ralph Lauren was showing up with some real nice stuff. I love their belting. That's an interesting coat. Yeah, they were They were mixing stuff from their Purple Label line. Some of this stuff, man. And I know you're thinking, who would dress like this out? Well, probably some cool, like, Korean kids or whatever. But you could dress like this. If you went out dressed like this, you'd be the coolest cat in town. I mean, you'd have to have the confidence to pull it off, of course. Just think of how you use one of these pieces. Maybe not the whole thing, but what about these pants? And then you've just got a white t-shirt. What about these pants, a white t-shirt, and then just like a cropped hoodie? And then there'd be like an incongruity between the informality of the hoodie and the gigantic baggy pinstripe pants. I think you could pull off some phenomenal stuff. Those are too low for the waistline, ain't it? Not too low. I mean, it's a choice, you know. It is a relatively low-waisted pant, but this is not meant to be formal, right? This is avant-garde. The first one was like low. Well, they've got that like Gurkha belt thing going on. Anyway. I miss being in my 20s. Buddy. There are tons of 80-year-olds in Japan who are fashionable as hell. It doesn't matter if you've got a beer belly, okay? If you know what you're doing, you get powerful. I feel like I'm too fat to dress like that. I'm telling you, it's just not true. Listen, okay? Being skinny makes it easier, all right? Most of the high-end brands tend to build for that kind of thing, but it is by no means innate. You know who dresses real good and is pudgy? What's the name of that YouTuber who paints the signs? He does hand painting, has very long YouTube shorts where he talks about, you know, I'm painting this sign because a friend of mine asked me to, and here's what I learned about myself doing it. You know that guy? Hand sign painting. I bet you this will bring it up. Here we go. Koison. This guy consistently dresses really well, and he's a little bit on the heavier side. But he's got the principles down real good, you know? I mean, you can see just in these... Look at that. That's a really, really good fit right there. Big straight leg jeans, maybe even a little more than straight leg. That is a big cuff at the bottom, right? It just looks good. Just a very solid fit, yeah. That's a boot cut. That might be a boot cut. That's a very big leg. Well, he's not exactly fat, I suppose. He's actually pretty big. Guess he's more just thick? Well, I say the point stands. Wide lad. Stout, yeah, stout. Big old block. You get my point. Okay. Kowalski, thanks the 569. You can be sure that Americans will commit all the stupidities they can think of, plus some of that are beyond imagine. Charles de Gaulle. Oh, like de Gaulle's one to talk. Honestly. All right, let me read some super chats, huh? Of which there are a surprising number. Victorious Gardenosaurus and Endeavors DMB, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Start a Liberty Garden today and join the battle against hunger. Yeah, good pastime too. 6'4 Crusader, thank you for the $2. Ghost of Avalon and Bushrat, thank you for the 5 USD and AUD. Thank you. Sauron made orcs, goblins, etc. as essentially evil. Everyone else is free to have their own path in life. I just don't know if that's true. I think there's more nuance to that. I really don't think so. Also, how can you argue that textually the orcs and the Uruk-hai and so far have to be innately evil when even Smeagol, after 500 years of having his brain fucked by the ring, was still capable of genuine, sincere altruism? Inconsistently, but still, you know? You get me. Soulpel Ducks, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Devil's Rebellion and I, thank you for the $10 both. Tolkien agonized over the origin of the orcs because making them pure evil went against his own beliefs as a Catholic. They aren't evil because they're born that way, but because the culture they had. I would love to read more about it, you know? Tim Walz should have already called out the state police and National Guard to protect protesters and arrest ICE agents that break the law. Trusting the courts is not enough. I agree. I think, however, the reason Tim Walz might be hesitant to deploy the National Guard is that it might be a prompt for Trump to nationalize them or federalize them. Ghost of Avalon, Tommy Puckett, and Crucible. Thank you for the $5 all. I really appreciate that. Longtime lurker, first-time supporter. I really appreciate your content. Thank you. It's really kind of you. I also appreciate my content. B, thank you for the $10. I appreciate you being a lefty and distinguishing between cops and military. Yeah, I responded to that when you put it out. Yeah, no, I recognize that. The ideological gulf between a service member and a cop is at times significant, and is with an ICE agent always significant. Subterral Prospector and Arcane Spaghetti, thank you for the $5 both. I really appreciate that. Code117 and Aragath, thank you for the $10, US and Canadian. Good Lord, what the hell is happening there? 1 second. I mean, if you reached out saying that you thought what he was doing was base, regardless of what he was saying in the past, maybe willing to talk. Look, I think that if I reached out to Will Stancil, I do not think that he would allow any personal distaste for me get in the way of him advocating for what he's doing. However, you are right. He is very busy at the moment. So I don't really think, I'll let him be. I'm enjoying watching from afar right now. All right, now I will read this big essay post. Hey Vosh, time for my big confession. I really hated Israel's genocide in Gaza first, like full outrage mode, but honestly, it's gotten kind of boring now. Druze getting massacred in Syria, now I'll pass to international. 16,000 plus slaughtered in Iran in a single week. Yawn, wake me up when it's relevant. Kurds massacred in Syria, Rojava again. Maybe I'll look at it in the next week if it trends, or if it somehow ties back to Israel. Solidarity is exhausting when it's not the approved flavor, right, King? This would go a lot harder if it wasn't for the fact that I've done like 3 bits on Iran. Oh, you were schizo posting last stream too. Okay, gotcha. I see. It's all it's a whole thingamajig. I think this person might be a Mossad agent. Yeah. Their whole thing seems to be, why are you so mean to Israel when Iran's bad too? Except I've talked about Iran. And also, this is actual mental illness, so I don't really know. Mossad funding? This person never donated. My funding channels are clean, thank you. Tommy Puckett and Tony Ryan, thank you for the $5 both. Matt Walsh recently attacked veterans receiving disability compensation as fraudsters. It makes sense given the stuff that he says and believes, but again, that kind of like over the top, nonstop, malicious, contemptuous hate all the time, no breaks. I just don't think it has much of a future. It's unsustainable. Eat Pussy Crew, good name, thanks for the 5 Australian. And Robert Field, thank you for the $5 both, really appreciate that. Grimmy Lane, thank you for the $10. Yo, Mr. Vosh, have you kept up with Syria? Rojava's getting trampled by the interim government? No, I have not. I intend to. Unfortunately, there's been a lot to keep up with as of late. Kelly Rose, Owl of Kenna, and Matt Montoya Music, thank you for the $5 all. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Just curious on your opinions on France at the moment. I don't know. That's kind of a broad question. Is there an event in particular that you're referring to? France news. Do you mean all the farmers spilling shit everywhere? Or I don't know what exactly you're referring to. I think that France is a couple of steps behind Germany and the United Kingdom and the United States. But, it is demonstrated clearly what is evident elsewhere, which is that at least right now, the government is not offering any solutions, right? The government is not looking to make things better for anyone. The government is slowly managing the whittling away of its existing wealth, now we no longer strive to build new and build good. Now we're just trying to argue we have no choice but to raise the retirement age. We have no choice but to tighten our borders or bring things in, you know? Nobody's fighting for a better world. Flop Pingus Republic, still alive, and Country Fine Minis, thank you for the $2 all. Really appreciate that. And Zoidamus, thank you for the $10. Hey Vosh, making some Japanese chicken curry while listening to your stream. I know you hear this a lot, but thanks for the hope for the future, even if things look dire. Of course. No, I can't stand the doomer attitudes, you know? I think that there are a lot of legitimate negative prescriptions you can make about the future, but that doesn't mean things are over. It just means that things are bumpy. They're always going to be bumpy. And Zoidamus, the $2. I might have put in too much water for the rice. Just got to boil it longer, huh? Gonna have some mushy, mushy rice. Beef and Snorcore, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for talking about this. You make it easier for me to talk about it with my coworkers. My pleasure. I feel like Palestine and Israel is so exhausting. Like, yeah, I, Mr. Mossad, kill babies, but what about those who do also? So, Mr. Vosh, you thought of that? I mean, also, like, my opinions on Israel are very well known. And I feel like I have already said pretty much everything there is to say about Israel, its relationship to the United States, and its relationship to the Palestinian people. It's not like there's some new atrocity that they're engaging in that I haven't given attention to before. It should always be understood they're evil, and they're going to keep being evil. The ceasefire's fake. They're still running strikes in the Gaza Strip, you know, seizing territory in the West Bank. That's the whole point of fascism. Fascism and Lebensraum and all that bullshit, they're not about getting more territory or getting certain changes. They're about the process of action towards those changes, you know? The point of brutality against black people in America, in a white nationalist context, is not the removal of black people, but the brutality itself. If there were no more black people, we would simply expand our borders until we met more of them and then did the same. Sensuous Psychosis, thank you for the $5. Lord of the Rings is the father of modern fantasy, as Dune is with modern sci-fi, and its story is unchallenged in fantasy, but as far as fantasy worlds go, Warhammer Fantasy is best. I have not engaged with Warhammer Fantasy at all, besides the Total War games, but I imagine that Warhammer Fantasy and Lord of the Rings are related only in the sense that they're both like medieval fantasies, right? Like, the objectives in creating these worlds have to be like completely different, you know? Exactly, Skynet. I thought Warhammer was in space. Warhammer Fantasy isn't. All right, folks, I've got to go. I have to get ready. I don't want to miss my showing of The Return of the King in theaters, all 15 hours of it. I also don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow. I have a vet appointment, and also I have family visiting, you know? I don't think I'm going to have time for it. I might not for a little bit, but if I have time to peek in for a bit, I'll do so, all right? I'm sure plenty of bullshit's going to happen in the next few days for me to pay attention to. Once we're done with this, it should be regular schedule for a while, you know? And then we'll finally finish E33. Jesus. All right. Take care. I'll see you guys soon.